Hello, welcome to another Purple Insider Extra. Matthew Coller here, along with Sam Ekstrom. A reminder to listen to our longer conversations wherever you get your podcasts. Just type in Purple Insider or use the link below and check out purpleinsider.substack.com for our written work. Okay, Sam, last year the Vikings played a lot of rookies on the field, and they got really good performances from Justin Jefferson, Cam Dantzler at times, Ezra Cleveland at times. Do we think that those three who will be relied upon a lot, and I'm leaving Jeff Gladney out because his future seems unclear, but those three for sure will be relied upon to start and play huge roles on this team. Do you think that we should just project them forward to be better versions of what they were as rookies, or should there be some concern about any of the three of those guys having either a sophomore slump or not taking a step forward?
Well, one of my mantras in football coverage is that progress is not linear. I'll say it until I die. And that applies to teams, trajectories. That applies to like momentum during a season. That applies to players' improvement from their rookie year on. And a lot of times we see the rookie year is great, and then there's either a plateau or a drop off for any number of reasons. And even though Justin Jefferson seems like one of the best first round picks in recent memory, I still have concerns just because of how things went last year so perfectly from a health standpoint. He didn't encounter really any injury adversity, and that can affect people like, Stephon Diggs, phenomenal when healthy, but definitely like prone to injury and not as effective when he was hurt. I mean, that has to be taken into account. And I think other teams are going to be obviously clued in to what Justin Jefferson can do. And the Vikings haven't necessarily, created a lot of other options around him other than Adam Thielen. So, what if Justin Jefferson has to be the lone good receiver on a given day? Like, what if Adam Thielen is hurt for a month? Then what happens to Justin Jefferson? I don't know if we know that for sure yet. So I do get concerned a little bit about Justin progressing in year two. It's a very, very lofty bar to clear. 1,400 yards. Even though he didn't play like the first half of the first two games, he still played most of the year. That still does concern me a little bit, even though I think he's uber talented.
Yeah, I think with Jefferson, aside from tweaking an ankle or something like that you can't predict, I don't have many doubts about his ability to continue to do what he did. Taking it to another level is hard because he was already one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But sustainability, I think, for one, Justin Jefferson has the drive to do that. You and I were on a lot of Zoom calls with Justin Jefferson, and you could tell how much it irritated him to have been the fifth drafted wide receiver, to have the Philadelphia Eagles pass on him. He seems very motivated, but also very football intelligent. The fact that he was able to switch from playing in the slot at LSU to an outside wide receiver and instantly dominate, to capture the offense the way that he did, I think said a lot about who he is as a player. And also, I think we just got the idea that he wants to be a superstar in this league, even at times when he showed his frustration about not getting the football. That's the only area of concern I have. It's not about him. It's about, will there be some headbutting at times about the fact that this team still wants to be run first? And I think throw it to Justin should be the theme of 2021 if the Vikings want to have a great offense as opposed to a good offense from last year. Now, Cam Danceler, I think the injury concern is very real with Cam Danceler. He had a couple of great games where he was an impact player, and I think that he could do more of that as he goes forward. But even at the end of the year, Sam, Mike Zimmer said he's going to have to put on some more muscle. I don't know how possible it is to just throw on more muscle for a guy who already was not blazing fast. And I don't know if that helps you actually avoid injuries or not when you've already had them. So I think with Cam Danceler, I would be concerned there with the injuries.
Yeah. I mean, and as concerned as I am about Justin Jefferson getting hurt, there isn't really a lot of evidence to suggest that he's fragile like that. Whereas with Cameron Dantzler, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that he might miss some time. I believe it was 3 different stints last year where he was hurt, and one of those was a freak injury where I think Anthony Harris caught him in the head, and they had the scary scene at Lambeau Field. That could have happened to anybody, but there were a couple of things earlier in the year where I think he tweaked an ankle and had some lower body stuff going on, which, is indicative of maybe someone that's susceptible to wear and tear. So with Dantzler, end of game situations were a big problem. He didn't seem to have the football IQ, quite up to par in those situations. I think he's got to grow a lot mentally, which I think is doable. He was thrown into the fire last year into a lot of tough situations. I think that's doable. And there were stretches last year where he was very good in run support, which for someone his size is pretty encouraging. And in coverage, I thought he was pretty sticky. Now, there were a lot of bad moments, but I think there were enough good moments to sort of, wet your whistle and get excited about what he can do. The real question is, what is Ezra Cleveland? Is he going to be a guard? It looks like it. A left guard or a right guard? We don't know, but this is still a fairly new position for him. So can he take another step next year?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I don't know if I know the answer because last year he showed some really impressive skills in the run game. I mean, he's very, very quick for a guy his size, very athletic. That was his MO coming out. But in pass protection, when it came to facing off against quicker defensive tackles, he had a lot of welcome to the NFL type of moments and how he adjusts in the offseason. A lot of players will say, and you mentioned the IQ part of it, that it grows the most from that first offseason, into the next year. And that's what's going to happen with Ezra Cleveland because he was really tossed into the fire and they said, okay, you're a guard now, go play guard, but at the opposite guard from where you were normally playing. And that's not something you want for a rookie. And the fact that he didn't fall on his face alone, I think was telling and a good sign for them. But at the same time, is he now going to have to move back across the line to left guard? Probably. And how does he adapt to that will be a big question. And I think even as excited as people are about this offensive line, there are questions all over with whether Wyatt Davis and Christian Darrisaw are ready right away, whether Garrett Bradbury could take the big step forward that I think he needs to take. And then with Ezra Cleveland, I mean, we've also got to ask, is he going to become a good guard, an average guard, an above average guard, below average? We really don't have an answer yet. And soon, only in a few months, Sam, we will find out the answer to that question when training camp comes along. And you'll want to stay around for the ride with us here on Purple Insider. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast, check out the Substack as well, and we will catch you next time.